It's the Fellowship of the Geek Show, a weekly podcast about comics, the comic book industry, and other geek pop culture. Music courtesy of Manny the Martyr. And now, on with the show!
Hey there, everybody. It's the Fellowship of the Geeks podcast. My name's Thomas Chick, and joining me for this episode is Mike Marlowe.
Hey, gang.
Les Webster.
Hello, all.
And Liz Newman.
Hello, everybody.
How are y'all guys doing?
Fantastic.
Ruby.
Very good.
Hope everybody's doing okay out there. And let me be the first one to say Happy Halloween, because this episode will be dropping on Halloween Day.
Ooh,
right?
Spooky. That's the plan.
We both went to the spooky.
So, if you have any plans for the day, going to a haunted house or trick-or-treating somehow, either with kids or you just going on by yourself or whatever, I hope you have a good time, but stay safe and all that. So, what's been going on in your corner of the galaxy?
Well, trying to think what I did. Usually I get all this stuff out pre-show. And I'm like, what do I talk about? I already talked about that. No, I did watch a few movies. I don't know what I watched.
That good, huh? That's good.
How many Rob Zombie movies did you watch?
Right. Well, for some reason, I guess it was Saturday, I got stuck on Sopranos again. HBO marathons those. And I don't know why I only watch it on the TV and I just don't go to HBO and just watch it there without the commercials. And, you know, I can fast forward the slow parts. It's like, dang. But I heard there is talks of making a series on HBO. I don't know if they're going with the prequel or maybe after. I think the way that Cook has it set up is it'll probably be before, because I still don't think he wants to break the mystery around what happened to Tony Soprano. And if they did it a sequel to it, then we would find out, you know. And of course, James Gandolfini's not here, and you know, so I don't know. Could be interesting. And then I think Thomas had mentioned on Discord how his mentions were screwed up in Tubi. Mine are pretty fried from Amazon as well. I usually get these really weird, corny, like B-rated horror movies. I think from where we watched all those B-rated horror movies last year, you know. But
You're being optimistic with the B thing.
Right.
I'm just saying.
Well, it popped up for My Bloody Valentine. And I remember watching it. Of course, it's got Jensen in it, so I'm sure I've seen it, but I couldn't remember if he was the killer or not. So I went ahead and watched all of that and found out he was freaking loony. But, yeah.
Is that the medical term?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was. When he got out of his
I'm not a loony.
his loony bin, they were like, "You are certified loony. Here's a pickaxe. Good luck."
Wow.
It's kind of one of those movies that you watch. I mean, of course, I watched it because of Jensen, but it was kind of like, wait a minute, what the hell's going on here? You know, and I hate movies where you watch it and then at the ending they're like, but wait, you were wrong. You really watched this, but that didn't happen. And you're like, I hate that. I understand if you like, we did see it, but it was hidden kind of thing, instead of, no, that was completely a JR moment. You were dreaming. That didn't happen. Here's what, he really did slaughter these guys instead of being locked in this cage. I don't like that. I think you trick your watcher at that point for the sake of a gotcha, And
It's a cheap gotcha, too.
it is. And then, you almost feel played at the end because it's like, yeah, and how dare they make Jensen look that way, And I think we're also getting closer to the boys' release, so I'm excited for that. I'm wanting to say they said November, so. And they've done really good about not spoiling it. The last 3 seasons, right? I can't remember if this season 3 or 4. But anyways, the last seasons, they were really good about they showed you a lot of set pictures, and like we saw the whale, but we didn't know what context that whale was going to be used in. And Lord, my mind never went that far to what that whale could be used for. But this time it's been a completely closed set. We've seen maybe 1 or 2 pictures, so I'm excited to see what they have planned for us, because anything kept under wraps, which I say that Kripke was also really, really good about keeping Supernatural under wraps. He didn't like a lot of spoilers, and he didn't like a lot of, sets to get out so people could see what was going on. He wanted you to watch it as it was happening, So I like that he's carried that over to this. But yeah, not a lot. Yeah, I mean, I think there is a lot going on, but nothing that I feel that would be...
Nothing you want to go on the record about, anyway.
Right. I mean, we do have 2 highly controversial things going on right now, which people, I don't really know what side they're on, and so I'll keep my nose shut until all the facts come out. But
keep your nose shut.
Well, my mouth shut.
I caught that too.
I meant to say my nose out of it, but yeah.
Mix in your metaphors again.
Yeah. I'm curious what's going to happen over at Warner Brothers. They're kind of getting kicked around a little bit. And it also makes me curious when Discovery steps in, how much of this is going to stay. So we shall see. Like I said, I don't know one way or the other. I will say this on the record. If Ruby was treated as badly as she's saying, then people need to answer up for what happened. The girl was almost paralyzed. We can't forget that. But so far, the approach, I don't think anybody is going to take an answer or a statement from Warner Brothers at this point. I think there's some hurt feelings, which very, very, understandable why. And I think if they say something, they're going to be slammed, and if they keep quiet, they're going to get slammed. So it's a no-win. I'm curious to see, like I said, what's going to happen, and all these emails coming out and stuff is not looking too good, but I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, if it happened, I'm sorry. I feel bad for her, but I don't know. I myself did not care for her on Batwoman, but that doesn't give them a right to treat someone badly. So I have separated the actress from what is going on, and I wish that Twitter and the internet would do the same thing. Just because you didn't like the girl in a thing doesn't mean she's lying, or doesn't mean she's a bitch, or all this. And I really hate when women get in the news and the first word that's thrown around is bitch. And it's kind of like, come on, people. This is 2021. You're going to have to get more creative.
Right. There's got to be better words for this.
Right. bitch just doesn't do anything anymore, you know. So, I don't know. Like I said, it should be interesting because they're still under the microscope about Ray Fisher.
Yeah.
So this really didn't come along at a good time for them, you know. Although, I know it's Warner Brothers as a company, but people also need to realize when you have a company that's that big, you have people who do TV and you have people who do movies, and they're not the same people. So, just saying, you know, Warner Brothers is a big company.
Right. It's possible for them to have more than one asshole working there.
Right. And it's possible for them to have an asshole working for them and not know it.
Entirely.
You know?
Sometimes assholes are good at hiding. Sometimes they're not, but sometimes they are.
And I do know the first thing she said was, you know, I didn't say anything then, and I should have now. You can't really hold someone's toes to the fire if they didn't know. You know? Local-wise, yes, but big head honcho-wise, they had no idea what goes on their sets. They know they pay this check, and they're supposed to get the job done, you know? So, I don't know. Like I said, we'll see. With the Discovery merger that just happened, they're talking about cleaning house, and I'm curious if some of the problematic Warner Brothers that we've seen won't get cleaned up a little. I hope, you know.
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Because who knows what direction that cleanup is supposed to actually go.
Yeah.
It depends on who bought who. And I'm guessing Warner Brothers is the larger company, so.
I don't know. From what I'm seeing, it looks like Discovery is stepping in. Because, you know, Discovery, it's more than just Discovery, but they've had their streaming service longer than HBO Max. You know, they've done a lot of firsts before Warner Brothers, and if they're really wanting to hit this HBO Max thing like they've really been pushing for, I'd kind of take a back seat and let the guys who have been doing it do it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But that's just streaming. Discovery doesn't make a lot of movies and stuff the way Warner Brothers does. They make documentaries and things, but, you know, it's usually a what do you call that? A movie that's a documentary too?
Docudrama?
Maybe, yeah.
Or a biopic.
Yeah. Like when that girl got lost out in the ocean for 7 days. They made like a movie about that, but yeah. I don't know what I'm talking about.
That's okay. We make a habit of that on this show.
Right. But I think everybody has the right to go to work and be safe, period. You know? I think the complaints of, they yelled at me is a little too much, but I don't know. I grew up in a different time. You just put your head down and you continued to work, and you went home, and that was the end of it.
I honestly don't know what to think about this. I'm not saying I don't believe her, but it's not like I don't disbelieve her.
Right.
She was a controversial pick from the get-go.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe she was afraid of saying something when all this was going on, because they could turn around and use that and say, well, you know, she's difficult. I mean, they're still saying that anyway. But,
yeah.
You know, it's just,
and
yeah, I don't know.
I think it was weird, though, that when she walked off the set, none of her castmates were like, oh, good luck, and we wish you well, on to the next thing. Nobody did that. So it's kind of like, you know, when we had people leave the office we didn't like, we're like, woohoo, bye-bye.
Well,
ding dong.
Damn.
We all have that one person in the office, you know.
Well, I mean, it's kind of a catch-22 because, you know, well, first of all, were the other cast members even asked? Yeah, hey, how do you feel about her leaving the show? I'm sure they did, and I'm sure they came with a written out response. Say, this is what you
Right.
need to say.
And of course they can't go, oh, well, Warner Brothers sucks, because they're still signing their paychecks.
Right.
You know, you don't want to get fired. But I don't see anything wrong with someone who was let go to go, hey, good luck.
Yeah.
We enjoyed working with you. And nobody
Well,
said
you
that.
wouldn't even have to say that. You just say, well, I wish her luck in her future adventures or future, whatever she wants to do. That's that you could say that, and whether or not people believe that you mean that doesn't matter. It sounds nice. It sounds like that's I don't know.
I think there was some things that happened that were wrong, but I think she also did some things that were wrong too.
Well, and that's what I said. That's what I said when you posted all that stuff in Discord. I was like, I think once again, it's the truth that's always in the middle. There's a little bit on both sides.
So
maybe we'll find out. Maybe we won't.
I think once the show gets canceled, because face it, their numbers are not that great. I think maybe some more of the truth will come out. Just because, like I said before, people scared to say anything because they're getting their paycheck signed right now. And some people will put up with a certain percentage of shit to get their job done. I personally think that she wasn't ready for this, that she stepped into a lead role when she's never been in a lead role, and things are different when you're lead. That they don't. There's a certain percentage of coddling that isn't done anymore because you're supposed to know this. You're the lead. If not, you're supporting.
I understand what you're saying, but there's been a lot of other actors have had that.
Yeah.
Where they've done nothing but supporting acting, even if that, and all of a sudden they're a lead of a TV series or a movie, and once again, I'm tired of me. I'm sure y'all getting tired of me saying this. I don't know.
Yeah. I think you either sail or you fail. But when the only thing I had seen her in previously was Orange is the New Black.
Mm-hmm.
And she played kind of I hate to say word bitch because I said what I said earlier, but she kind of played a bitch character, and I didn't really like her on the show, but she wasn't the greatest actress on the show either. So when they said she's going to be Batwoman, it was kind of like, wow, really? She's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous, but you could see her playing that role. She just, in my mind, didn't have that ability to step up to that plate yet. Well,
I never watched the show because I wasn't interested, but
Yeah, I'm old school, and I don't like shows when everybody feels like they have to make their footing by dogging on Batman. Batman's tried and true for 80 years. He's not going anywhere. You don't have to buff Batman to be badass. You don't have to be mad at him or distance yourself from Batman. Why even bring him up at that point? I just don't like when shows do that.
Because
he rubs people the wrong way. And also it's controversial.
It's exactly.
And gets their foot in the door because, it's Batman,
Right.
Well,
you got to get the word Batman into the intro somehow, because Batman is, they always say dance with the one who brung you. Batman's the reason why we have all these shows anyway, ultimately.
Right.
To your point.
It is.
So we got to get the name in there just because.
But you can still like him and have a good show. You don't have to be Debbie Downer or Dick to, have a good show.
Not since 1986, you don't.
Right. And I just say Dick because Titans, that whole thing they
Grayson,
tried to do.
Right, Grayson. You're talking about Grayson.
But it fit.
It does. Double meanings for the win.
Right. And then I also heard that speaking of the whole,
it's tea
Batman
time.
I
thing.
want to say this week.
It's tea time, boys and girls.
Arrowverse. When at the ending of Arrow, which I don't think I watched it, I guess they had a time jump to where Oliver had a daughter named Mia, and they were supposed to do a spin-off for her, and it never happened. Well, I heard that's back in the works again, so we may get flashbacks of Ollie. Who knows?
Flashback.
Oh, goody.
Right. The Arrowverse thing.
Well, at first, you started describing this, and the first thing I thought was Arrow Beyond. What?
I think that would be a cool show, Arrow Beyond. She's supposed to take up the mantle for him. But I heard that this year, this last season, Flash didn't do any kind of crossover. They were still kind of cleaning up from the last crossover. But I heard this season we will get another crossover with the Arrowverse again. And this is where we'll see Mia again. So if you liked it, she's coming back. They've brought the same actress back to play her. And she said she'll be the same Mia that everybody loves. So we'll see.
Exciting.
Mm-hmm.
I know Les is ready.
Sure he is.
Well, it's going to be. I've heard about this crossover, and it's going to be interesting to see how they pull it off because it's called Armageddon. I'm like, okay.
Well, every crossover has to have an Armageddon or Apocalypse or,
Well, assuming since they've been kind of doing the same the stuff from the books, Armageddon, I don't know how this is going to work because the whole premise was in the future, one of the heroes basically turned evil and killed all the other heroes, and it kind of turned into kind of a Orwellian future. You remember this, Les?
Yeah, I do.
And then we had this one person who's named Wave Rider. Does that sound familiar? Come back into the past to try to figure out who that hero was and try to stop that future from happening.
Huh.
And this was happening. This was happening over through the annuals. I think it was called. It was in 1991 because it was called Armageddon 2001. And basically, every annual he would go up to one of the heroes, whoever's book it was, and touch them and see an alternate future.
Huh. Yeah, I don't think I've. Kind of sounds like.
It was an interesting story, except for the fact that someone figured out who it was, so they felt they had to change who the actual person was, and all of a sudden it didn't make sense. So.
Well, didn't they have a book like that here recently? Booster Gold and Harley Quinn was killing the retired superheroes, or that's what it looked like. And then, spoiler alert, the last 5 pages, come to find out it was freaking Flash, and it was like, what? This makes no freaking sense, because he was one of the first people that was killed at the very beginning of the book.
That's what they wanted you to think.
Well, I think I can't remember if that was Snyder or King. One of my favorites wrote the book.
That was King.
Was it King?
You're talking about that? Was it Heroes in Crisis?
Heroes in Crisis. Yep. And he said no, that is not how he planned for that book to end. That he won't say who, but who he had in mind. The big dogs brought him in, was like, you can't do this. We're wanting to do this with Flash, so we need you to make it Flash. And he's kind of like, I killed him like in the first 10 pages of this damn series. What do you mean you want me to make this Flash? So if the ending of the book came off kind of it's because it was to him. He did not plan for that book to go that way. It's still a good story.
It happens a lot, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That kind of thing happens because In Armageddon, it was supposed to be Captain Atom that turned evil, and people had figured it out. So what they decided to do was, oh well, no, it wasn't him. It was Hawk of Hawk and Dove. Even though they were already featured in one of the other books, and it was just like it did make sense.
Yeah. It sucks when they do that. It's like, just let the people tell their story, you know? Because you could definitely, when you read this, it was like, this is not right. This is not the same story that you've been telling us. You know,
Well,
you've flipped it on its head.
Yeah, I mean, it happens a lot, because was it Infinite Crisis? Dan DiDio was planning on killing off Nightwing. And there was so much uproar over it, plus the fact that DC was having the problems with the Siegel estate regarding Superboy, so they changed it to, well, okay, we're killing off Connor. So they did that. So once again, all of a sudden, it just like, that doesn't make any sense. Why did this happen?
Yeah.
Because they, if and Les maybe remember this, at one point they had Jason become Nightwing. They had already set everything up to where it was going to be a future without Dick Grayson. And then all of a sudden they had to switch back. And it's just like, none of this makes sense.
Yeah. Jason can't just be Superboy now? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I don't think your fans or the bigwigs should influence your stories like that. I think tell your story, what you thought in your head, and if they don't like it, they don't like it. Wait for the next guy to come along, like I did with Batman. Wait for the next guy to come along, and they'll tell the story better. You know, I'm not gonna go cry on the internet and be all like, Kingverse! Give us Tom King's version. I think we're limiting
Restore the Kingverse.
We're limiting our creatives is what we're doing.
We are, but we're doing it so that we can attempt to maximize the amount of money we make. So it's all good.
Yeah.
So,
wow, that shut
Mikey.
Everything down. Damn. Okay. Okay. Sorry to be such a downer, folks, but you know.
That's one way to move along the program.
I wish I'd thought of that 20 minutes ago. But anyway, just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding.
No, he's not.
I'm not telling you whether I am or not. So now that we're finally on the back end of this horror month thing, I got to watch something that wasn't a horror movie for a change.
What?
I know, right? It's crazy.
It's October.
I managed to squeeze in. I had to watch a lot of stuff this month. I squeezed in a music documentary. And this one was called The Howlin' Wolf Story, The Secret History of Rock and Roll. This is from 2003, so it's a little on the older side, but it's still pretty entertaining. It's very interesting. It is obviously the story of Howlin' Wolf, who was a pretty influential blues guy back in the early part of the 20th century. He was a guy who was he was kind of an oddity in that he was an early blues man who was actually like successful enough to be. I mean, he started out obviously in, I believe it was Louisiana, and got the opportunity to move to Chicago, which had obviously a much bigger and more public music scene. So fairly early in his career, he takes off for Chicago and goes and manages to be like a successful musician, professional musician for years. So he's kind of, his story is kind of a win in terms of what you're used to, and if for the stories of the old bluesmen. So that's actually kind of cool to see. It's an interesting twist on, because a lot of those stories are not happy ones. Wolf managed to have a pretty happy life for the most part, for a blues man. So it's really interesting, and it's got bunches of documentaries with his family and stuff because he passed away like in 19, I think it was 76. Um, but yeah, there's some really nice conversations with his daughters and some of the other folks that he worked with, some of his musician friends and stuff. It's a really nice documentary. I watched it on Prime, but I think it may also be on Tubi as well.
That's cool.
Nice, cool. Well, for me, a couple things. One, I took Liz's recommendation and watched season 3 of the movies that made us. And they did have 3 horror movies there. They also had Nightmare Before Christmas as one of the listings. And it was pretty interesting to find that,
Tim Burton?
Tim Burton, thank you, was not that involved.
No.
Other than he came up with the story. He tried to get Disney to do it. They said no until he became a big-time director.
Yep.
Then they were ready to jump through hoops to get it.
Kiss his butt. Yep.
But he essentially stayed away from it. People say, well, he directed the Nightmare Before Christmas, and you come to find, no, he did not.
Mm-mm. No, it's just his story. Henry Selick really did everything.
Yes, that's very true, and brave man to do that because he was under attack the whole time.
Yep. And he also did Caroline, which people credit Burton for. And it's like, no, that was Gavin and Salick. It's something he would do in kind of that darky, dark, creepy, cute kind of thing. But no.
So I did take that in. And then yesterday, I went to Retropalooza over in Arlington, a show, and it was interesting, but it was not really my cup of tea. This dealt mainly with video games, and that just doesn't appeal to me. People were buying all these video games that they had as kids, but this was past my time of getting interested in such a thing. So, like I said, it was interesting to see how many people were there and how many people took part in this, and it was a 2-day event. So my understanding was they made pretty good money at it, which I thought was great. That's the main thing. And the crowd enjoyed it. They had some panels and things like that. So that's kind of what my weekend was. That between that and rewatching our films for tonight.
Neat. Was it like really crowded, or was there like space between people and all that? I'm still not sure what shows look like anymore these days.
Oh,
People?
they charge you at the door. They give you a ticket. You walk around. I saw some people. I saw people that I've seen at conventions before, and I got to stop and talk with them, catch up with them.
Well, that's cool.
It was fun. But the gaming, I'm not going in to look for a Sega Zork or something. Had no appeal to me there. Luckily, there were people that were selling things other than games, and that was where I would gravitate. Records, vinyl,
Right.
Wood carvings, art, some comic books, but the majority of it was, like I said, the games, and it was okay, but just not something I would line up for.
Sounds like fun, though.
Yeah.
Good.
You talk about conventions and all that. It seems like every so often I want to jump through social media and just strangle someone. Someone had posted a picture at some convention, and of course it didn't look like there was a lot of people. And from that, he construed that the industry is dying. I'm like, are you fucking stupid? We're still dealing with a pandemic, even though we're slowly getting kind of going back to normal, to somewhat of a normal life. We're still dealing with this. Now, if you want to use that as an excuse to say that the comic and convention industry is dying, then you're showing how stupid you are, and you should just delete your accounts and just stand in the corner for the rest of your life, because your opinions are invalid. That you're just showing off how stupid you are.
There's like a group of them who are like wishing the comic industry would die. You know.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, I don't really want to go down that road,
right?
But there, as some of the creators have pointed out, that they've been saying that the comic industry has been dying for 30, 40 years. It's still here, so yeah.
Right. If the DC implosion didn't kill comics, I don't think anything's going to really.
Yeah. So it's just
that was 40 friggin' years ago.
Right.
Mm-hmm. It just I don't know. I saw that, and I was like, I gotta get off this. I gotta get off Twitter, because if this is stuff that's going to be perpetuated, then you know what? It's time to watch Mystery Science Theater 3000 so I can get a laugh or two.
Damn, Skippy.
Yep.
That's a good alternative right there.
Mm-hmm. Well, for me, not a whole heck of a lot. Finishing up stuff for today.
Clearly getting pissed at Twitter, but
well, it happens a lot, especially when you deal with these idiots. But I'm doing the best I can to either block or just walk away.
I don't know how calling your co-hosts idiots here is really going to help anything, but
I wasn't calling y'all.
I'm kidding. Liz is over there going, wait, he called us what?
I did. I was like, I missed that. Was it me?
What a maroon. What an imbecile. So not a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So nothing really major. So that's about it. Nothing fancy. So
it's okay to have those weeks occasionally.
Yeah, I seem like I have them a lot, but that's okay. Okay, let's go ahead and get into this week's discussion. As it's been previously mentioned, this is the end of our All Ages Horror Month, and I'm sure some people here are happy about that, and that's all right. But for this week, we are discussing 3 quote-unquote Halloween specials. Toy Story of Terror, Scary Godmother, Halloween Spooktacular, and of course the classic, It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. For discussion, let's go ahead and go with the order that I laid down. Let's go ahead and start off with Toy Story of Terror.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I feel.
Yeah. This was 2013. It was a TV special that they hyped up and hyped up. Now, around this time, I'm kind of not sure on my dates, but in the Toy Story movies, Andy gave his toys to Bonnie. And this special deals with Bonnie and instead of Andy. So automatically, I didn't like it. We grew up with Andy, and, yeah, I'm not crazy about Bonnie.
Andy, who had a grand total of about 17 seconds of screen time through 4 movies? Come on.
Yes, but
I think
each
you're overdoing
movie
it.
was about their love for Andy. It made them want to jump into the trash compactor. It made them want to fight the Martians in the crane machine. It was their love for Andy.
Ooh.
And how good he took care of them and how he played with them. And, you got this sense of you knew who Andy was without him being a big character. I'm the same way with the movies where the animals have to find their way home. If they didn't love them so much, they wouldn't try so hard, But Toy Story grew up with my kids, and so when Andy's moving away for college, it was kind of a heartbreaking moment because at that time my kids are graduating from high school too, and So yeah, it was kind of one of the it did. It just kind of added the more of I don't like Bonnie, and she didn't take care of her toys, so she'd rather play with trash than good toys. But this one,
I don't remember that part.
Yeah, that was the new character with a spoon that she made with the little pipe cleaners and stuff that she got out of the trash.
That wasn't part of this special, right?
Well, no.
Okay.
Like I said, but this special was to get Bonnie into the spotlight to, kind of push her back out there, because I think a lot of people felt the same way I did about Bonnie. But this one, they're on vacation and she takes her toys, but not all of her toys because Hammy wasn't there. But anyways, she takes some of her toys and they go to a motel and they get abducted by an iguana and sold online. Kind of reminded me of one of the other movies where the collector was collecting them and trying to sell them, and so kind of the same kind of theory. But I don't know. The first time I watched it, all I could remember is they were stuck in a bathroom, and I honestly thought it was like a gas station bathroom. So I'm kind of glad I watched this one again. Or I'd be like talking about the Blob again all over. But yeah, I didn't like this one. I kind of thought it was corny and they'd already done it.
Oh, man.
But I like Toy Story, which is crazy, right? I should like this.
I'm not going to sit here and tell you what you should and shouldn't like.
Right.
I might go back to my comment that I'm not sure you and I watched the same thing the same way. But, yeah. Because I didn't really have a problem with this. I mean, I think the deal, and where I run into issues with stuff like this, and I mean, you keep joking, Tom, about us being sick of watching these things. I'm not sure I'd go that far. I wouldn't say I'm sick of them. I mean, it's the end of the month, and I'm kind of glad. I'm glad we did this, but I'm also kind of glad it's over. I mean, this is clearly, this Toy Story thing is clearly aimed at a fairly young crowd.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not a lot of depth to anything. Also, it's 21 minutes long, so you can't really put a lot of depth into it. So
Right.
at best, you're riding what's been done before in the movies, which I think this came out after 3.
That's what I'm reading here. Yeah,
Okay.
set after events of Toy Story 3.
Yeah, so I mean, they've got plenty to build on, but they don't have any time to build anything. So this is, I thought that the theme of the facing your fears theme was nice. I mean,
Yeah.
but this is a thing for little kids, so you're just going to get a handful of jump scares to kind of drive that point home, and that's fine. You don't need to be giving little kids anything more than jump scares.
Right. The iguana was pretty scary, though.
The iguana I thought it was an interesting twist.
Yeah. I wasn't,
mean,
like I said,
pet
I've
iguana.
seen it before, and I wasn't expecting that.
Right, and they built up the darkness and the shadows and all that, and the speed of the iguana. I thought pretty nicely, given that they did it in about 2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
At the beginning, so I thought it was fun. It was fine. Is it great cinema? No, of course not. It's at least somewhat derivative little. I don't even. I mean, it came out around Halloween time. Otherwise, I'm not sure it had a lot to do with Halloween story. It's fine. I didn't have
Other
any
than
major
horror.
problems with it. Yeah. Well, horrors. I mean, and I don't know. I still think the title's a little misleading, but I'm not sure. I'm not
Yeah.
sure about the terror part. But sure, like I said, you throw a couple of jump scares in. You have a little story about keeping the gang together, which has been a running theme through all of the movies anyway.
Yes.
And
But I did love Mr. Prickle Pants, how he broke down the horror movies. That was kind of cute.
Mr. Pricklepants was fun. I would say I would like to see more Mr. Pricklepants, but
This is getting weird.
this is too shit. Yeah, if nothing else, there's that. Yes, it is a little
Yeah.
weird, but yeah, I mean, again, it's too short to do anything like that, so you run
That
with
was-
it. It's fine. It is what it is. Carl Weathers was in it. It's all good.
Mr. Prickle Pants was Timothy Dalton.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course, you had Tom Hanks, Tim Allen, Joan Cusack, Don Rickles.
A lot of the crowd from the previous movies.
Yeah. Which I liked that they did that. Sometimes the TV specials, they don't use the same voices that the movies do. And that can be kind of...
It can go south fast, yes.
It
Agreed.
can.
Um,
And when you're dealing with kids, especially,
They know.
that can be kind of scary, that you're watching Buzz, but Buzz doesn't sound like Buzz,
Mhm. It's a little weird, and they
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of times they notice that sort of thing. They don't know
Big
what it
time.
means, but they notice it. They're like, that doesn't sound right.
Yep.
But yeah.
We're watching Puppy Dog Pals. And the little kid who voiced
Of
one of the
course you
dogs, yep, he hit puberty, so they had to get a new voice actor to play the puppy dog, and she won't watch it now. It does, that's what she keeps telling me. Rolly's not Rolly, and it's like, well, he is, because they didn't change what he looked like. They just changed the voice that's playing him,
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, explain that to a 2-year-old.
yeah,
Good luck
and
with that.
they don't think it makes a big difference, but it does. No matter how close they sound, it's not the same,
Well, and it's sometimes it's not a question of whether they think it makes a big difference. It's a situation they can't control. I mean, how are you going to
Right.
stop this kid from hitting puberty and sounding like this all of a sudden?
Right?
I mean, you can't.
And some of them parents were ruthless, and it's like, guys, you realize you're breaking down an 11-year-old child.
Right.
Just say you don't like it and move on,
Right.
you know.
Or better yet, shut up.
Right. But he's 11.
Yeah.
Les?
I'm going to side with Mike on this one. I thought it was enjoyable. I thought they got their point across. And I thought that expanding from what they had was definitely a needed thing. Granted, the one voice I really didn't fully recognize, and I'd heard him in the other movies, it was Don Rickles. It did not sound as brash as he was in the previous movies.
Yeah.
So I was kind of taken aback. But
He didn't say a lot in this movie, did he?
no, he was mainly on the run.
Yeah.
So I can understand part of that anyway. I thought it enjoyable. I wasn't thinking that this was any form of Shakespeare, thank God. Because they would have been roasted for sure. But, yeah, to me it was something I could sit back, turn the mind off, and enjoy. So I was happy.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty good. I mean, I kind of like how they handled the mystery and the whole thing with the iguana. Kind of you see bits and pieces here until they do the full reveal. I thought that was kind of handled pretty well. And of course the like you said, Mike, the whole thing of overcoming your fear and do the right thing. It's a great little message. This is not something I would watch on a yearly basis or anything, but yeah, it was all right.
And a little piece of trivia I didn't know till I just saw this. Combat Carl, the main guy in this one, was actually the name of the action figure that Sid blew up in the first movie.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Neat.
So that's pretty neat.
A little flashback that
Yeah.
I bet hardly anybody noticed.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I saw the first one, so, you know.
Oh, I'm sure there's one or two fans that probably picked up on that, but you know, for the most part, yeah, no one caught it. So yeah,
Enjoyable.
Yeah.
And wise. A good thing that you found that stuff, because I did not recognize that at all.
And it did have a good theme, moral behind it. You know, don't give up, find a way out. So.
Yeah.
And apparently a lot of people like this because it has a 94% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. So.
I'm not sure a lot of people take the Rotten Tomatoes thing all that seriously, but, you know, it's all good.
That's the voice of toddlers right there, though.
Well,
pretty mighty voice.
Maybe so. Maybe so.
Okay, we want to go ahead and move on then, because it sounds like we were all pretty much in agreement on this one.
Yep.
For the most part.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Scary Godmother, Halloween Spooktacular, which is based on the series of books by Jill Thompson.
I liked this one. The story was kind of weird at times, but it was kind of cute. I think what really pulled me in on this was the style of animation that it was, because it wasn't quite CGI, but it wasn't quite cell, but they kind of matched them together, and this is what we got. So I liked that. I liked the books by Jill Thompson. There was a part 2 to this movie too called Jimmy's Revenge, which was book 2 of her series. So I thought it was pretty good. Pretty close to the books too. This one is about a little girl who her cousin has to take her trick-or-treating, and he doesn't want to because she's a little kid. So they send her into the spooky house where she meets her scary godmother. She meets all these monsters and becomes friends with them, and at the end of the movie, they kind of like throw it back on them kind of thing. Scare them. So I thought it was a cute story. Especially for our little trick-or-treaters. But yeah, I'm not for sure what they would call this style of animation, but like I said, I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't.
Not as much, no.
Yeah. It did drag in part.
It's another one that, like some of the ones before, I looked at the clock several times because, yeah, this shit was going on for a long time. And it was honestly only about 45 minutes long.
Yeah.
And they managed to not fill 45 minutes somehow. And this is definitely aimed at a way younger crowd. And so I'm not the target audience, and I get that. The animation style that you describe, I found jarring. I had a hard time. I mean, there were times I had to look away from the screen because it was just too weird. It just didn't flow very well in my eyes.
Yeah.
So I mean, if what you're looking for is unique, then sure, you're gonna love it, or you might love it anyway. But for me, it did not flow very well at all in terms of that. The story. See, this is fun because I just got done the other day talking with the guys from Victims and Villains, and one of their things is Josh is really good at finding a message that relates back to mental health stuff. And the one he found in the movie we watched, which was Trick or Treat, was bullying. And I watched I watched Scary Godmother basically right after I watched Trick or Treat, and I immediately made the connection. I mean, these older kids are bullying this little kid. I mean, and in a really friggin' dangerous way. And honestly, the whole revenge concept, while what they did was kind of cute, it was still revenge for bullying, and that it struck me as being a very heavy-handed story idea for something like this. And I don't know. That part also rubbed me the wrong way. I thought that I mean, I don't want to say you need to shelter little kids from stuff. I don't think that at all. I think there are ways to handle it that aren't just, okay, we're just going to have these older kids talk up this quote unquote haunted abandoned house and then shove this basically 7-year-old kid into this house by themselves, turn around, lock the door, and then laugh like loons for 30 minutes. That seemed a bit much to me. That seemed like a big stretch. So yeah, this one, I had a hard time getting past that for this one.
On this one, I enjoyed it. I was familiar with the work. The only problem I had with this one was the fact that the reveal that it was Jimmy and his cronies that put the poor girl in there and made her try to make her way out, although she was treated very kindly by the godmother and her group. But the problem I had was it took so long to finally get to the point where, oh, it's Jimmy? Well, we got plans for him. Well, why didn't you tell me this in the first 10 minutes? And this way I could get through the movie. Yeah, I just, the idea that we don't want to reveal anything was kind of disheartening. The movie's, the art style is reminiscent of the books. And I thought that was a good way to look at it. Otherwise, you're going to have people screaming that it's nothing like the book. Well, fine, if that's what you think is important. Personally, I don't, but have at it. So this is one that I would watch again. Maybe not every Thanksgiving or Halloween, but I thought it was worth the time, the half hour that I did watch. Unlike some others we've discussed, I did not. I'm sorry, Mike, I was not looking at my watch.
Hey, you don't have to apologize to me for that, man. I'm glad. I'm glad you watched it.
It had some fun in it, and that's what made the difference to me.
Yeah. All that, and Tabitha St. Germain was doing the main voice in this, so she also does a lot of My Little Pony work, among countless other cartoons and stuff. Strawberry Shortcake, Polly Pocket.
Cool.
Yeah. It had been a while since I had watched this. I saw it several years ago. So when I watched it again, yeah, it's a very unique look, visual. I believe the company that did this also did the reboot series. I think it was on either Fox or CW on Saturday mornings. Very, very successful animated series. I get where you say it's jarring, Mike. I can kind of see that at times, but I did like the look.
Thump, 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 thump.
Yeah, they're itching.
It overall, I thought it's a fun little tale, and I kind of liked Jimmy and his friends kind of be put in their place after what they did to her. But yeah, I can see what you're talking about, Mike, as well. About the bullying and the whole revenge. I hadn't really thought about that in that way, but you know, but overall, I liked the special. It was, yeah, it's not one that I wouldn't watch on an annual basis, but you know, every once in a while. It'd be kind of fun to watch.
Yeah, it's interesting to have a special, a TV show, a movie, whatever you want to call it, a story, where the whole runtime is basically spending time explaining that the monsters are the good people and the regular people are the monsters.
Yeah.
Which I mean it's in and of itself is probably not a bad lesson to teach, but I thought this I'm not sure I liked how this particular one handled it. I think it went a little overboard with the kids being terrible. And I mean, I'm fine with them portraying monsters as nice people. I mean, you get that with Monsters Inc. for crying out loud. So I can't really argue with that, and wouldn't. But I think, yeah, I think the contrast was a little strong. That's all.
It was a bit heavy-handed there. I agree. It just, I can understand that you want to get the point across that sometimes your friends are the ones that are against you, but don't lay it on that thick.
Yeah, I can see it being a little much. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, chalk this up to me, like I said, just being exposed to a full-blown horror movie that basically deals with bullying. And on top of that, was not in any way familiar with the source material on this. This is literally the first time I ever heard of this thing. So,
Yeah.
I came at it maybe from a slightly weird perspective or something.
Well, I've never read the books either. I knew they existed, but I still hadn't read them. But I'm kind of curious to read them. All right. We want to go ahead and move on to Charlie?
Oh, sure.
Okay. All right. It's The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. Came out in 1966.
Yep. It's 25 minutes long. If you haven't seen this one, you've been living under a rock, and hello, welcome to the world.
I got a rock.
This one, that Linus views the Great Pumpkin like Santa Claus. He's going to rise up over the pumpkin patch and give toys away to all the kids. And of course, everybody tells him it's bullshit. You're crazy. And of course he is. It doesn't happen. I love this. I absolutely adore it. A lot of cartoons and things from 1966, you can go, oh, well, that didn't age well. I really didn't find myself saying that through any of this. Yeah, Bug too. Bug didn't say it either.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. She likes Snoopy's cameo, of course, is always the best part of a Charlie Brown cartoon, is when Snoopy does his own little thing. Have you guys ever seen the she's still talking about Snoopy.
Bug has, and she does not approve.
Have you ever seen the Robot Chicken parody of this? Where, like, the Great Pumpkin comes and, like, Linus rides him around like Cthulhu, and they're like, he's eating all of his friends. And at the end of it, he tells Linus, if you didn't believe in me so much, I wouldn't have been able to do this. So he's like, great.
No pressure, dude.
Right. Thanks. You just ate my sister. But yeah, I like that version too.
Okay, given who Linus's sister is, I'm not sure anybody's going to argue.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things I like about this is, she's oh, you blockhead, and you're embarrassing me all through the movie. She's like, why are you doing this? You're stupid. I don't even want to know you right now. And at the very end, she goes out there and she gets him and covers him up because that's her little brother, So there's love there. She just can't show it around others. So I thought that was a very sweet point in this cartoon. And you're wishing and you're hoping that Great Pumpkin shows up for him, because he believes so hard.
I keep watching it over and over again, and he never shows up. I mean, come on.
Disappointment every time. And my favorite in this whole thing is Charlie Brown's costume.
Got carried away with the scissors.
That's like awesome. Bug.
Somebody wants to be a part of the show this week. Jeez.
Right? She's like, forget taco, man. Bug.
I'm almost afraid to go next.
Mm.
I feel bad enough about crapping on the last one.
Uh-oh. I'll close my ears. La, 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 la.
Go ahead, I'm going to crap on it too. So
Oh,
Okay,
no.
fair enough.
A heart.
I feel a little better about that now. Yeah, I get the classic thing, and I mean, this is not the first time I've seen this. I've seen this before many times. I don't know if maybe I'm looking at it through the eyes of a middle-aged white guy at this point or something, but it's hard to build a cohesive story in 25 minutes of film time.
Yeah.
Let alone when you give Snoopy like 7 minutes of it to sit on the top of his house and pretend to get shot at.
He's the Red Baron.
He's fighting the Red Baron, but
Yeah.
that's right. But it's also not super visually interesting, unfortunately. And again, with the older kids shouting at younger kids and calling them names and being generally mean to them. I hate that bullying seems to be a running theme here, but
it's siblings. You're
so?
always going to have that sibling rivalry. My sisters, I mean, I was the youngest, so
How much
I
of
was
that
always
is
the one
your
shoved under
experience,
the
and how much of it
couch
is
and in the
justifying
closet.
bullying? I mean,
Well, it's not justifying bullying. It's just when you live in
It's
close
just
quarters with
okay
somebody,
because
it's
they're related.
things that happen.
no, it's the okay part that's bullshit. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not okay. And unfortunately, we can't go back and fix it because it was more than 50 years ago, and that's the way it was back then, and I get that too. I mean, believe me, I've seen all the disclaimers on the Looney Tunes stuff that they do these days, and I mean, that doesn't make it less problematic. I mean, did I hate it? No, because Charlie Brown is cute and it's fun and there's all of that. But also, I'm not sure I would encourage my kid to treat people the way these people treat each other. You know?
Yeah,
but
it's their sibling. It's
don't
Well, it's
think
not.
that
It's not
you
just
can
that. It's
you
just
can
how
keep
they.
saying that, and I don't think that makes it okay. And you can say it again, and I'm still not going to think that makes it okay.
My
Well-
sister could kick my butt and call me all kinds of names, but she would dare somebody to do the same thing to me. She would be all over it. So it was kind of like bullying, but it wasn't because I don't know.
Well,
Right.
and it's not just Lucy and Linus. It's everybody in Charlie Brown too.
Yeah.
I mean, they're picking on him. It's bad enough he has bad luck, but just, I mean, the whole thing of trying to do design on for the jack-o'-lantern and using the back of his head to do that. I mean, it's funny, but that's also
It's also kind of cruel.
It's cruel.
Yeah. It is.
So I see where Mikey's coming from. I hadn't really thought about it, but yeah, it exactly that way. But it's
Yeah.
But we
I guess I didn't-
say it's okay because it's a classic.
Yeah. See, I'm the youngest of three sisters, so I guess I didn't pick up on that. But I see where you're coming from. I do. I wouldn't, as an adult now, allow bigger kids to run over a little kid,
Right.
And I'd be the first one in the pumpkin patch with him because it was like, no, you're not stupid. We'll do this.
Hell yeah. Go out there with him and help him make it fun, I
Yeah.
mean, what the hell?
Pay
Let's just have
somebody
fun
to
with it.
throw candy at you,
Sure. Yeah, there are better ways to handle it, that's all.
Yeah. Yep. But the parents and stuff never seem to be around in these shows.
They do not. And I think that's an interesting statement. But,
Yeah. Well, it wouldn't happen, you know.
I think it was a different world back then.
Yeah. Yeah. It was.
I think it's understandable why they weren't around.
Oh,
wow. This is good if you watch it for the first time. After that, I don't give a crap. I saw it when it was original, not a rerun. And it was okay, but I got to see it one time and I didn't need to see it again. It was almost a waste of my time. So, I'm the bad guy.
You're the bad guy.
Anything Halloween, I'll watch it. It may be crap, but I'll watch it.
I won't watch Rob Zombie movies, I know that.
good man.
See, I fell in love with Zombie before his movies, so I may be wearing rose-colored glasses.
I like to think of it as Liz taking one for the team.
Yeah, but the team is not cheering her on because they knew that she didn't have to do that.
Well, that's her choice, and we let her make her own choices most of the time.
True that. Especially watching movies.
Mm-hmm.
Such as The Blob.
I still can't believe you guys didn't catch that when I was like, Steve McQueen, you guys knew he wasn't.
That was the point where we caught it. That was the point where we caught it. You didn't mention that before we recorded.
Yeah. Once you guys started, that was kind of one of those, oh shit. I did that, didn't I?
What have I done?
How did I do this?
That one we may never know, but yeah.
Oh, but we'll keep looking into it. You can guarantee that.
We'd definitely go keep rubbing it in a little bit because it was just too funny not to.
We had to have talked about it or something to where it was in my head already. Mentioned it or something, and I only read part of the title, I guess. I don't know how
you read V and then BL, and that was about it.
Yeah. Probably cut off on my phone. Instead of scrolling over, it was like, oh, it's the Blob. Cool.
Well, I'm going to say don't feel too bad. Did I tell you guys this? I talked to my trainer last week, and she was proud to say that she watched Halloween. Her partner does not like horror movies, but they both sat down to watch Halloween on TBS. She started describing this movie, and I said, "What movie did you see?" She said, "Halloween." I said, "With Michael Myers?" "Yeah." "With Jamie Lee Curtis?" "No, she wasn't in it."
It was zombies.
It was the Rob Zombie one, wasn't it?
Yes. And I said, "You got to go watch the movie again."
Except get it right this time.
Right.
As much as I love Zombie, I would never tell somebody to start there with Halloween. Just no.
And be careful with Mike Myers, too.
Yeah. I think that's kind of one of those movies you have to go into and you have to completely forget lore. You have to, forget canon and see the story that he's offering. Because while it does stay similar to Halloween, it's not the typical Michael Myers story. No. And the second one was
because he tried to humanize him.
Yeah.
It's like,
But see, that's
you
kind of where you grab the audience, though, because then at the end of it, you're like, oh my God, I sympathized with a serial killer. What does that say about me?
I don't think people think that much about their own thought processes.
no.
I was thinking, what the hell was I watching?
Yeah. I liked the first one, but like I said, the second one with the peacock and the mother and his wife, it was just no. He shouldn't have done that one. And
He didn't want to do it. That's the problem.
And I liked all his other stuff, that House of a Thousand Corpses, and Jesus, the other two are failing me right now. The other popular ones, those were good, but they weren't. They
And
weren't
the rest.
based on a story that was already put out there. I think had he have done this without saying this is Michael Myers, maybe people would have liked it a little better.
Well, I got a new one for you. This is the Munsters.
Oh, God.
Right.
Once again, he's got his wife in there, and it's like, oh. Sherry.
I almost feel bad for bringing that up again, but almost. Yeah, no. Not interested.
That's crushing. And I really thought with as much as the Munsters has influenced his career and everything else, he would really want to do this well. But I wish that Tim Burton would have done it instead. I think with Zombie, we're not going to get that kooky, campy feel that we got from the original series, the way that Burton would have done it. So
She may be biased, but...
Yeah. But that's hard, but being, biased against Zombie.
No, it's not. It's god awful.
Yeah.
Just go with that. Call it good.
I've danced and bled at his concerts before he even decided to do movies. So it's kind of, kind of like me following Jared into comics.
And sometimes you just have to let it go.
Yeah. I do wish he'd get back to music and leave the movies alone. We've done enough.
I think we all agree with that.
Yeah. Give us some good videos.
I don't know. I don't have to consume either thing, so I don't really care. But
Right.
anyway, sorry to bring that back up. But...
Oh, yeah. Halloween.
No, you're not.
I felt the need to make the point. I didn't necessarily mean to rehash all what we talked about last week. But
yeah. But no, I would not trust somebody to start there at his stuff. Which is crazy because on the marathons, that's what they do. They play his first two, and then they start with the older one.
Because they think because they're newer, they think people are going to react to them more.
Yeah.
People are going to sit down and watch because they're newer, which is kind of bullshit, but whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but
Charlie Brown.
Crazy. Today, 1978, Halloween came out. So it's kind of weird we are talking about it.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's not that weird that we're talking about it, honestly. But
yeah, on a Halloween show.
On a Halloween show with a bunch of fans of that movie.
Out.
But yeah, so it's a stretch, whatever. Anyway, Charlie Brown.
Yeah, I like Charlie Brown. So, yeah.
I like Charlie Brown too. I didn't much like this.
I think where this one misses where the other ones don't is this one wasn't about Charlie Brown. This was about Linus.
I think they were giving Charlie Brown a rest from being the constant target of the bullying of his kids in the neighborhood. But
Sure.
Anyway, you say that, and he's carrying a literal bag of rocks around when he's trick or treating. I think it's one of his so-called friends swiping his candy and leaving rocks in his bag. That's what I think. But
probably so.
But what do I know?
You know Dark.
I do know Dark. Kinda. I've met Dark
Yeah.
anyway.
I like him because usually it's a story about a boy and his dog.
There's no mixing that up with a boy and his dog.
Yep. You have to like it. The boy and his dog.
Do you?
Even with Don Johnson, really?
Okay, Charlie Brown. I do like the special. I've always had an issue with the sequence of Snoopy in the Red Baron and all that. It seems like it just a left turn. It's like, okay, well, we hadn't really showed Snoopy that much, so let's give him all this time and have him imagining he's fighting in World War One. I'm like, okay, or whatever. But it's kind of cute if you kind of overlook the whole bullying aspect. But which it can be hard. I understand that.
Again, I'm not really trying to shit on people's childhoods here, but it just hit me the wrong way
You're
this
ruining
time.
my childhood, Mike.
It crushed my heart.
Dude, yeah, you, Tom, don't have any room to talk about me ruining your childhood. I probably really did, so,
No, I mean I still enjoy it. It just I can see where you're coming from, but then again, that's kind of the whole premise of the comic strip and the cartoons, is that he has a lot of bad luck and he's always treated badly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's been going on for decades.
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing with the football. Oh, I'll get the chance to kick it this time.
But it wasn't notarized.
or him playing baseball. Him pitching and always getting the ball right back at him to the point to where it takes his clothes off. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's always been kind of a hallmark of the character and the strip. So it's kind of hard to So this is not an isolated event, but
No, and I mean part of the appeal is that people love an underdog. At least some people do, and I mean
they're always rooting for him.
I get it, right? But yeah, I don't know. I think it's in this case it just didn't translate so well. Maybe I don't know. At least not for me.
And to defend Snoopy here, I feel like they had to do that because, for one, that's what he was known for, and there were several comic strips just denoted to him fighting the Red Baron. So I think that was their way of bringing in something from the comics and their other movies that people enjoyed. So.
Sure, he had to get some screen time because
Yeah.
he's a popular part of the strip.
no, I get that, but it seems like it went on a little bit longer than it had to, at least in my opinion. And it's always been something that's kind of been a nitpick on.
I like that he's in his own little world. He don't give a fuck what's going on around.
Well, and in other specials, my deal was in other specials, they actually show him flying a little airplane.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's definitely more visually interesting than what we're getting here.
Yeah.
So maybe this was in an early one or something. I didn't look. And so they
It
didn't
was
start doing that
66,
until
so,
later. I don't
Yeah.
know. But yeah, it's just.
I think before this they had did Charlie Brown Christmas and there was one other one before this. So this was their third one they had done.
Okay, so that kind of makes sense. They made it. Maybe they learned from their mistake and made it more interesting later, and that's cool.
Well, it's just, I mean, Snoopy is a cool dog, and they usually have him doing something that's neat or funny or something like that. Where, I mean, this really wasn't.
Yeah.
until he winds up in the pumpkin patch and rises up and causes Linus to faint, thinking it's the Great Pumpkin. Spoiler alert for a 50-year-old cartoon, but
Just like a dog, he's like, "What? What? I didn't do anything."
Thump, 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 thump.
so
Yeah, definitely a classic. If you missed this one, it is on Apple TV. I
and
think they
nowhere
played
else.
I think they played it once this year.
Yeah, I think they were going
Right.
to play it like Sunday night or something on PBS.
Yeah,
and
On the 24th, yeah.
Yeah. So you can,
sorry we didn't tell you that beforehand and all, but
yeah.
And they did it basically because of the uproar last year with them pulling all the Charlie Brown specials and throwing them to Apple TV. That's the only reason why they did it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And believe me, there's like nothing else on Apple TV but this.
wow. Not arguing with you, but wow.
Yeah, there's just not a lot they offer, you know. I think the only reason it's popular is because you can have it on your phone.
Yep.
That's not really a reason I would get it,
But if you have an Apple phone, that's
Right.
really the only thing you can get.
That's right. That's the kicker. It's a house brand thing.
Yeah.
You have to have an
you have
iPhone.
to.
And, yeah.
Yeah. Which now they've loosened up on that because now I think Apple TV is available on Roku too, which is why I have it. Or, you know, I didn't even know I had this one. Brandon was like, "Oh yeah, like $5." Okay. Okay.
I would rather have the DVDs and watch it anytime I want to and as many times as I want to, which
Yeah.
I do have them. So
I was gonna say we do too. We have those. And for me growing up, when this came on TV, it was Halloween. Shit was about to get serious because Charlie Brown was on TV, and that meant candy was right around the corner.
yep.
Same way with the Christmas. It marked its time. It's because they never play it, but like maybe a week before, if not a couple of days before the actual holiday. So it's like it's serious, man. Charlie Brown's on TV.
so this was like Pavlov's dog for you, right?
Ding.
Wipe your chin, Liz. Wipe your chin.
All right. With that, we conclude another horror month. Yay!
Yay. We should do this again next year. But not with all ages.
Be careful what you wish for, Mike.
It was interesting and I learned a lot, but ready to watch something else now.
It's going to be something else, I'll tell you that.
Woo.
Like Rob Zombie?
I think we should do a Bunny Man marathon.
No, Liz, you already gave me the inspiration for next year's, and you're going to be so happy.
Oh shit.
Yay! I like that.
I bet you do.
I don't know what it is, but I like that.
Now, you say that now.
Right.
Because
Oh.
you have no clue
Oh.
what it's going to be about.
And then I'm
Okay.
going to be watching It Came at Night or whatever that Christopher Lee one was we watched.
What?
Oh yeah, the what was it? It's a terrible one.
Terror Train?
God.
No.
No, not Horror
The one
Express.
that
That
had,
one
like,
was funny.
3 stories going together, and the kids tried to burn the adults up, and
Yeah, the one with Diana Dors in it. I can't remember the title of it.
that one was just
Apparently
weird.
I blocked it out, but yes, it was weird.
So, something to look forward to next year.
Yay.
Yay.
And on that note, we are going to take a quick break and be right back. this is our time that we do weekly picks, but as we have mentioned, recently that we are taking a break from doing picks due to the whole shipping issues, and we're just not sure if we're getting our lists that we're getting, how accurate it is. There's been some problems with that the last several weeks. So we're taking a temporary break for probably a couple more weeks, and then we'll start it back up. So there's that. Of course, go to the website or check out our previous episodes for other picks that are available there. All right. Any special shout-outs or mentions this week?
Happy Halloween.
Yep.
Happy
Halloween.
Happy 1st of November.
Mm-hmm. If you're into that sort of thing, absolutely.
Happy Day of the Dead. Yeah. Okay. Let's go ahead and get into our regular shout-outs then. Want to thank Pop Goes the Culture Podcast Network for allowing us to be part of a great group of fellow podcasts. Definitely check out those shows. There'll be a link in the show notes. We also want you to check out the fine men and women who make up Podern Family, who've been so kind as to spread the word of the fellowship by retweeting our links. And the easiest way to check out their work is just do a search, #Podern Family, and that's one word. Just scroll through, and whatever catches your eye, please download that episode and check it out, and hopefully you found another podcast to listen to. Thank you guys for your support. Want to also thank Manny the Martyr for supplying music to the podcast. There will be a link in the show notes where you can check out their music. Thank you guys as always. And finally, you, dear listener, thank you for downloading and listening to today's episode. We do appreciate support as always. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, complaints, observations, what have you, please send them our way. There are several ways you can reach out to us. Our email address is email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net, or you can go to the website and go to the About Us page. There's a contact form you can fill out. I think we mentioned it earlier. We do have a Discord that's free to join. Sign up for Discord is free. The app is free. We do have an invite on our homepage. And in our Discord, we do have a channel specifically for feedback. You can post your feedback there, or if you want to reach out to us individually, please do. Social media, we are on Facebook, The Fellowship of the Geeks, and on Twitter, we are at Fellowship Geeks. Please follow us there. If you'd like to follow our personal Twitter accounts, Mike can be found at Mikey Geek. Liz can be found at LN_Geek. Les may or may not be found at Fake Les Webster. And I can be found at TomTC Geek. And from wherever you download our episodes, if you would be so kind as to rate and review our show, it would be greatly appreciated. Any final thoughts before we say goodbye?
Just thanks, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
Appreciate you listening.
Thanks for listening, everybody. We do appreciate support. Until next time, geek on, my friends.
We thank you for listening to the show. Comments, suggestions, and questions can be sent to email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. You can follow us on Facebook at The Fellowship of the Geeks and on Twitter at Fellowship Geeks. Until next time,